You're listening to BioTalk with Rich Bendis, the only podcast focused on the BioHealth Capital Region. Each episode, we'll talk to leaders in the industry to break down the biggest topics happening today in biohealth.
Hello there. I'm Rich Bendis, President and CEO of BioHealth Innovation, and I'm your host for BioTalk. And this is the inaugural recording that we're going to do, and we've selected one of the leaders within the BioHealth Capital Region, who also happens to be the chairman of the BioHealth Innovation Board and my boss. So it was a good selection to have.
Just so happens.
Yeah, just so happens.
Just so happens, they said.
Right, just
Rich
so
is going into the performance evaluation discussion next week.
I'll be due for a raise, so Doug on this interview is basically going to be judging me on many different things. But our first guest is Doug Liu, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Operations for Qiagen. And Doug, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rich. Glad to be here.
And for our listeners, what we'd like to talk about first is give us an introduction to Qiagen as well as an introduction to Doug Liu.
Okay, well, let me start with Qiagen first.
Right.
So Qiagen, our purpose to make improvements in life possible. And one of the things that I really find, great about working in our industry is that, we all the companies around here within this industry really have great missions. We're trying to improve human health through various methodologies, whether it's being a tool provider like us or whether it's companies that are providing therapeutics, of which, Qiagen exists to support them to a great extent. We also exist to support basic research and basic discovery. Over the last 20 plus years, there's been an explosion in the capabilities to generate molecular information, genomic information about all aspects of biology. And so that's been really exciting with the development of new technologies and next generation sequencing in combination with computing power, et cetera. So with that great opportunity has also come a lot of new challenges, and that laboratories, investigators are not able to really interpret all of that data and generate it in as easy to use fashion as possible. And that's really why Qiagen exists today. So we want to make it as easy, as fast, and as powerful in order to be able to generate and interpret all of this genomic data that is so important to advancing human health. And so that's why Qiagen exists.
Explain briefly what the technology is that Qiagen is developing.
So we have a very broad product portfolio within the company. We have more than 1,000 products that we bring to the marketplace, but mostly it's around nucleic acid technology, not exclusively, but mostly. So the roots of the company were early on to find better ways to reproducibly purify DNA. We've expanded that to be any kind of nucleic acids under very different conditions and be able to then allow a laboratory to investigate those nucleic acids and interpret what DNA or RNA or methylation of DNA, as an example, might be doing and what that means to disease progression, disease diagnosis, treatment selection, and also just learning basic biology, understanding basic biology better.
And so who would be the primary users of your technology?
So we work with many different types of labs. So labs are the key users of our technology, whether they be, as I mentioned, core central labs that are based in hospitals, or whether that would be in a research laboratory doing basic biology research.
Qiagen's a Dutch company with its primary operations in Europe located in Germany. And you have your North American headquarters in Germantown, which is in Montgomery County, Maryland. How did the Dutch company select Germantown to be its North American headquarters?
First off, I would say that Qiagen, from its very early inception, when the company was just founded, within, I think it was the first or second year after being founded, became active in the United States. The United States is the biggest single market in life sciences, both from an academic research perspective and also applied applications, whether that be in diagnostics or pharmaceutical research or other aspects. So it was very important for us as a European company to become active commercially in North America and the United States. So more than 30 years ago, we came here. As the company grew, we wanted to locate to the East Coast and be much more active in the East Coast. And we essentially looked at the three main markets at that time. So in New England, in the Boston area, here in the DC metro area, or in the BioHealth Capital Region, I should say.
Very good.
And then also Research Triangle. And for a number of reasons, both access to customers, access to regulatory agencies, the ability to find talent, the ability to find land, and also some support from the county. It was chosen to come to Maryland and create our North American headquarters here, and happened to be in Germantown.
And this may be premature, but you and I have had some discussions that there might be some potential expansion plans for Qiagen.
Yeah, we're actively working on an expansion. We own our facility, and we have an employee base up in Frederick of about a little more than 100 employees. And then we have other employees around North America that we're considering relocating into the Germantown facility. So we have a site master plan that allows us to add different types of buildings to the Germantown location. And we're looking to break some ground this year, start some activities around that. So,
well, I'm sure everybody in the BioHealth Capital Region is glad that you're renewing your commitment to this region with this expansion, and you're setting a great tone for others to follow in the future.
Yeah, we've been really happy with all aspects of support that we've gotten within Montgomery County, within the state of Maryland, within the BioHealth Capital Region. So I mean that on multiple levels. We have access to a great employee base. We hire employees who are, let's say, associates without degrees, associates with bachelor degrees, and then people with advanced degrees, MD, PhDs, et cetera. And, here in the BioHealth Capital Region, we have access to thousands of people with those types of skill sets. So it's really been, quite a good area for us. And one of the things that I talk within the company that we don't so much talk about here is the great kind of, let's say, IT capabilities that we have within the region. There's a lot of, let's say, defense-oriented cybersecurity type of work that I think the region is well known for, but there's also, those capabilities are really leverageable for other activities as well.
One of the things that I've come to respect about Qiagen and your leadership of it is you really need good corporate citizens if you're going to build a vibrant biocluster. And since you've been involved here in Montgomery County, you've gotten engaged in many community outreach activities. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the boards that you've served on, why you got engaged, and how does that benefit Qiagen?
Well, thanks for speaking so kindly about me. I guess what I would say is, I've been involved with biohealth innovation essentially from the beginning. Early on, Qiagen was involved in the preliminary analysis. We're one of the larger residents within the industry here. So we're not the largest employer within here, but we're a top 5 employer within Maryland, within the life science space. And I think we are interested in it for a couple of reasons. Number one is we think it's good for Qiagen. We think our employee base thinks it's important to engage into the community. I think it's good for Qiagen for us to have a dynamic industry here. So what I like to tell people is 99.99% of the ideas in the world are generated outside of the 4 walls of Qiagen, which they are. It's just a fact. And if you're not engaged into the outside world, then you're going to miss out on the vast, vast majority of those things. Also, it's not really possible for us to advance and create all the ideas that are good ideas, even if we're aware of them. So we need to work with other companies. And it's certainly better to have those be really more in your backyard than far, far away. I mean, it's possible to work with people in different cities, different countries, different continents, but there is still something to be said for having a vibrant, dynamic community really close to home. I think also the more dynamic the community is, the better talent that you can attract. So my kids are whatever, both right around 25 years old, and they want to go where the action is as well. They don't want to go to a community where there's very limited opportunities. They like to see engagement from lots of different companies, both big and small. They like to see a dynamic environment that also has aspects of, let's say, entertainment or culture, and also the environment, a great environment. And so if people like myself, or if companies like Qiagen are unwilling to engage in that and create that ecosystem, then it won't be created. And I personally think that means, if not me, then who else? And that's why I do it personally. So,
and I think there's a few other things you've been engaged with. MBDC, Montgomery Business Development Corporation, which was another nonprofit trying to grow business in the county. And you're also a member of Governor Hogan's Life Science Advisory Board. You want to talk about either of those initiatives as well?
Sure. I think if we start with the Life Science Advisory Board, I think Maryland has a very strong position. We have some great research institutions. We have some great companies that exist here, and we have just a really good foundation here in the state of Maryland. And one of the things that we've seen is that maybe the various aspects of that great and all of these great pieces are not integrated together. And I think that the Life Science Advisory Board was tasked with trying to bring these various pieces together into a way that creates a richer environment that allows for economic development. And a strong economy means strong institutions. Strong institutions feed back into strong businesses, and strong businesses are the foundation of a strong economy. So, they all work together. I live here, I work here, I play here. I want the economy to be strong. I want there to be opportunities for growth in the future, and particularly in a space that has a great mission. We're really lucky, like I said in the beginning. We make improvements in life possible. We improve human condition on a daily basis. And, it's a great industry to be in, and I'm committed to making that move forward. And I think the Life Science Advisory Board is another example, just like we're trying to do here at BHI, create the combination of academics, government funding, private industry working together to create a rich ecosystem that makes improvements in life possible and also grows our economy.
I think that's appreciated, and I definitely appreciate the support that Qiagen and you give to BHI. You happen to be the chair and has been serving as the chair for BHI for the last couple of years. What have you seen from the task force that County Executive Ike Leggett set up, I think it was like 2010, to where we are today in 2017, with part of the realization of some of the input that was given by industry in a task force, but they didn't know how to implement, then BHI being created, and now with us being in existence 5.5 years. Tell us what you see, the progress that's occurred within the Montgomery County or this region during that time.
I think there's really been some amazing progress made, and I want to really compliment you, Rich. I think you really
that's why I asked the question, Doug.
I would say, really the board, of course, has been engaged, but I think the team within BHI did, the heavy lifting for sure. And I do want to recognize the county's very strong support of the initiative. So I think a couple of things came together. Government supports certain individuals, such as yourself within BHI, and then support from other people within the board, as an example, I think have really contributed to a lot of progress. What do I see as the big progress? I'm kind of a numbers person. We've been really lucky enough to support the founding and growing of more than 60 companies, and also been able to shepherd millions of dollars of funding to those. I think the biggest single financial investment was somewhere north of $60 million. So I think that there's been some very hard, tangible numbers, with the founding of companies, the raising of capital to develop those companies, and also not only just those types of things, but something that's maybe a little bit softer, that the BHI organization has been able to provide expertise to help these companies develop concepts that are commercializable and a path forward to figure out how to turn things from an idea into something that is generating value. And that value is both economic value, but it's also biological value, meaning that we're creating products that can improve the human condition.
And recognizing the progress we've made, we also recognize we are not there yet. We want to we are ranked sort of 6 out of the top biohealth or life science regions in the country. We'd like to be number 3 by 2023. We realize in order to do that, there's gaps that we have that have to be addressed. From your perspective, what do you see as the major gaps that we need to fill and address to really make this a full-blooded, wholesome biohealth ecosystem?
Well, the first thing I would say is we have a great foundation, right? So we have more funding than any other state in terms of NIH grant funding, and that's a combination of 2 things. One is the intermural and intramural funding that comes from the NIH. So if you take the institutes that are located here in the BioHealth Capital Region, plus the major academic institutions, I could be wrong, but I believe we get actually more core basic research funding than any other state. And for our size, that's hitting way above our weight. So that's a fantastic foundation. That's a testament to the capabilities and the brain power available within the region. I think we have some great companies within the region. Within Montgomery County, we have over 300 life science companies. So it's not like we're coming from 5 or 10. We have some quite sizable companies as well that are, with hundreds or thousands and also quite international reputations. So we got a great foundation.
So with all the opportunities and challenges we have, if you could wave a magic wand and do just one thing to advance the BioHealth Capital Region over the next couple of years, what do you think could make the biggest difference?
I think, let me throw a couple ideas. You guys can edit it later
okay.
on.
Yeah. Okay.
One is, I think we need to have more forums where people can come together and pitch ideas to people who can make those ideas come to fruition. So opportunities for smaller companies or individuals even who have gotten a little bit of support to kind of refine their ideas, to come together with companies who can support them, or investors, people with money who can support them, whether that means SBIR type funding, or whether it means angel funding, or whether it means, hey, we have a great idea, somebody needs to take a stake in us. So I think that's not something that I've seen a lot of. I think that that's really one thing that would probably generate a lot of value.
Second thing, what's the second thing?
A second thing, which is still related to that, is to try and train and encourage entrepreneurial thinking more at our academic type institutions. So when I lived in Boston, there's really a certain openness and even expectation of there being a high number of people who are starting their own businesses coming out of whatever area they're studying. And I think we somehow need a little bit more of that to teach and train entrepreneurs.
A culture shift.
Yeah, and so most people who go to university aren't destined to be a CEO. That's okay. That's normal, and that's not a problem in my mind. But I think we're a little too low on the scale of encouraging and teaching and training in that type of startup mentality, small business, what it takes to run a small business, start a small business, as kind of a second idea.
What is your attitude and the company's attitude towards buying local, looking for technology local, and if I'm a local entrepreneur or scientist that has a great idea that might be complementary to Qiagen, what's the best way for them to approach you?
Well, first I would say Qiagen has been a company that's acquired other companies. So in my 12 years, we've done lots and lots of acquisitions, and we've acquired local companies. So one of the biggest acquisitions that we ever did was when we acquired Digene, which was a local company. They were located in Gaithersburg, and we acquired them, and we kept the technology and all of those activities here in Montgomery County. We've also acquired other companies in the region. So, we have a normal process that people who want to pitch ideas to Qiagen can do that through our business development organization, and they can find that by going to Qiagen.com for those contact information.
I realize we haven't been able to get in depth in every area that you'd have an interest in talking about, but I'm going to let you have the closing comments and last word about anything that you'd like to reflect on of this brief interview.
I would really like to say the following, and we mentioned it, touched on it earlier. I think that there is a great opportunity for us. There's a convergence of organizations, academic, governmental, and private industry. And we have organizations like BHI or the Life Science Advisory Board that are bringing those organizations together. And I think we have a great opportunity in front of us, and that is to turn the BioHealth Capital Region into the example people will talk about in 10 years from now. It's like, wow, they really did a great job of bringing things together and growing an industry and taking some real leadership and capitalizing on certain opportunities. And I would also just like to end with saying thanks for inviting me. It's my pleasure to kind of talk off the cuff, so to speak. And I really want to also say, Rich, I think you've been able to personally drive this initiative forward. And I think you deserve a fair amount or disproportionately high amount of credit for the success we have been able to have over the next 5 years. And hopefully we'll have even bigger success over the 5 years to come.
Well, Doug, thank you very much for your comments. And also, thanks for being a guinea pig on the first BioTalk show, which we hope to bring other leaders like yourself in on a regular basis and give them exposure to the people in this region who otherwise wouldn't get a chance to listen to what your beliefs are. So for people who want to learn anything about Qiagen, it's Qiagen.com again.
That's right.
And again, Doug Liu, Senior Vice President for Global Operations for Qiagen, thank you for being our first guest.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to BioTalk with Rich Bendis.